welcome to Love the Movie Troy. This is Troy, and this is the channel where we talk about movies. So look, check me out. In this episode, I'm not going to talk about a movie. I'm talking about a new Disney Plus series that just aired called Obi-Wan. Have you heard it? Yeah, I'm sure you have. Star Wars Obi-Wan is the new Star Wars series that's out. A lot of people been highly anticipating this show, including myself. And I'm not gonna lie, you know, it grown over time. When they first announced it, I wasn't like everyone, like, oh, Obi-Wan. I was kind of like, I'm so sick of, you know, us going back to the past. You know, like, I want to go to the future, you know, or if we do go to the past, so far in the past that it's like with characters we don't know. But, you know, over time, after trailers dropped and stuff, and Obi-Wan is one of my favorite characters, I started getting excited. And so checking these two episodes that just dropped on Disney Plus, I checked them out, and I gotta say, man, I had fun. You know, I feel like they did a lot of things right, and I enjoyed it, the episodes for the most part. I did have my problems, and most of my problems came with episode 2. I think episode 1 was really, really good, and episode 2, it dropped in quality. You know, it dropped in quality. Even though I still like some things in episode 2 definitely dropped in quality. And I'm gonna get to that in a second. But starting off on the stuff I liked, Ewan McGregor, I mean, come on. He's embodied this role at this point. He is the best version of this character. I mean, talking about someone completely mastering a role. You know, I mean, Obi-Wan is just fantastic in this. You know, he's more old and grizzled from what we remembered in the prequels. And Ewan McGregor just gives such a great performance as Obi-Wan. You know, and it really kind of starts to make sense with canon, because one of the problems I always had is by the time we get to A New Hope, you know, Obi-Wan's so old, and, you know, but like last time we see him in Revenge of the Sith, he's all young and shit, and it's only like a 20-year gap in between those times, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around like 20 years or something, maybe even less than that. And I'm like, how he gets so old? But in this, you kind of start to see, you know, just in 10 years, because this takes place like 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, you really start to see his character, like how he's kind of aged, you know, just on this desert planet doing regular labor work, you know what I'm saying, stealing pieces of meat just for him and his horse or whatever the fuck it is to eat. You know, I mean, like, you see how it weighed on his body, and you see how he's like aging over time. And his performance, you know, the performance of McGregor helps, you know, realize that, and you're like, oh, okay, wow. You know, and I really like the way they treated him. I really like how, and you could also really start to see how he's been able to, you know, go under the radar after all these years, because while you got other dumbass Jedi revealing themselves and still trying to help people out, you know, Obi-Wan's like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to pretend nothing never happened. You got to go completely low key. You know, he changed his name to Ben Kenobi, which makes sense because he was known as Ben Kenobi in A New Hope. But yeah, so that just works so well for me, you know. And this is the one show actually where I understand why they're on that planet. You know what I mean? Like, they love the Tatooine. They put Tatooine in all of these damn Disney Plus shows, and it's so annoying. But this is the first show where I'm like, yeah, Tatooine is justified. It's like showing him watching over Luke, you know, and him wanting to train Luke, but wanting to make sure it's the right time and things like that. It was great. I loved it. Now the villains, the show opens with just a great scene, you know, with the Inquisitors basically coming and invading the planet looking for the Jedi, because they're trying to wipe out all the Jedi in the universe, and any sign of them, they come and distinguish them. And you see the 3 Inquisitors come off the ship, and it's just this great intense scene, this great suspenseful scene, and the Jedi gets revealed and run away, and then you get introduced into the character, I gotta say, I don't really like that much. Her name, I can't even think of her name, but it's the Black Inquisitor, the black girl. To me, she didn't work for me just because as a performer, as an actress, I just really didn't believe her performance. You know, like I get it, she's tough, you know what I mean? She's supposed to be this badass, but to me it's just so on the nose. All of her gestures and the things she do and say, I'm just like, I get it, you know, you're supposed to be this badass tough girl, but it just, I think it had more to do with,
tell me where the Jedi is, or this man and his family die.
With the actress that was playing her performance. I just didn't buy it, I didn't believe it. But the Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor, the main Inquisitor, he was a badass. I really loved his swagger, you know. He really felt scary, and the makeup did help, but it was also the performance, and as well as the other Inquisitor guy. I mean, they were badass. I just didn't like the lady, you know. She just didn't do it for me, which it sucks because, and you know, this is a spoiler review. I'm always late on saying that, but I didn't give any spoilers so far, but I'm gonna get into spoilers in this. But the thing that I didn't like is how they killed the Inquisitor, the main Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor. You know, it's like, to me that didn't make sense, because how was this Inquisitor in Rebels? I thought he was the same person, you know, and he shows up in Rebels, but he dies in this, and it sucks because he gets killed by, to me, the weaker villain. He gets killed by her, and I'm like, oh, the badass guy, the one that you want to see as the villain, he gets taken out by, to me, the villain that I don't really like that much. You know, that she just didn't really work for me. So that was really disappointing. But again, I kind of veered over to things I didn't like, but sticking to things I did like, I like how Uncle Owen was introduced, played by a great actor, and you know, he embodied Uncle Owen from A New Hope. It felt like, that's, I think, what I like about this series the most so far, is that, to me, the prequels and the original trilogy felt so different from each other, and I think that was always a big problem I had with Star Wars. In this show, it really feels like they're infusing the prequels with the original trilogy, and it's making it kind of feel like it all flowed together. You know, you had 6 films, and 3 of them felt one way and 3 of them felt completely different. And this show is kind of blending the two, and you really start to feel like, you know, you could see it leave the prequel era going towards the original trilogy era. And it worked for me, you know, and you know, seeing the scene with Obi-Wan and Uncle Owen, you know, debating and talk, it just felt right, and I was like, oh man, I love this, you know, and I just felt like it was great, you know, it really was great. All of that first episode, I mean, the first episode for me was pretty damn fantastic, you know. Now getting to and also I did like, you know, Obi-Wan, he did felt a little more old and grizzled, like he wasn't in the game for a number of years, but at the same time they still kept him a badass. He felt like that old version of Batman, when Batman is kind of old and past his prime, but he's still a badass. Like, it's some combat in this. I think it was an episode 2. I was like, oh, this is badass, and it didn't involve a lightsaber. It's just Obi-Wan being a badass, and he is a Jedi, so, you know, of course, you know. So I was like, oh, this is badass. He's whooping his ass with hand-to-hand combat. I was like, oh, I loved it. And that was just Deborah Chow. She you know, she's a good director. You know, she did such a good job with The Mandalorian, and I felt like, as far as direction goes, she does a pretty solid job so far with these first 2 episodes. Now getting into the stuff I didn't like, I gotta be honest, the young Princess Leia didn't work for me. The young version of Princess Leia, to me, she felt a little bit annoying, and it's one of these things that it's always hard to deal with. I always get worried when I see child actors take a major role in shows or movies like this, unless it's, you know, a really great actress, little young actor or actress. and unless they have a well-written role, you get real nervous, because sometimes you get these cliches when it comes to kids being in these things where they be annoying and they like talk too much and they try to make them so intelligent for their age. And sometimes that create other problems later when they do stupid stuff, because it was like, well, I thought this kid was supposed to be so smart, then they do something stupid and you supposed to give it a pass because it's like, oh, it's just a kid. Well, that's not what you were setting up. You were setting up that this kid was so intelligent. And so you get a little bit of that later on in episode 2, where she just stopped trusting Obi-Wan because she sees a little image or whatever. She stopped trusting Obi-Wan, and it was like, oh, how? And she says the Princess Leia says to Obi-Wan, and this shit was so stupid. Princess Leia says to Obi-Wan, she goes, how do I know you're not the kidnapper? And it's like, are you fucking serious? Because he saved you from the people who actually kidnapped you. You know what I mean? It was so stupid, like in the sense that I understand she could think that, okay, Obi-Wan is lying to her about something or not telling her the truth, but if someone comes in and saves you from someone that kidnapped you and have you locked in a basement, then they're obviously not the kidnappers. The kidnappers were the ones that kidnapped you. You know what I mean? So, and before that, she was supposed to be so smart, right? And so intelligent. And then she makes that dumb decision. And of course, it created problems, because another thing is like, how come none of these adults can catch a little girl? Why is it so hard for these adults to catch this little girl? Like, she starts running away. Princess Leia starts running away from Obi-Wan, and this is all in episode 2. And then Obi-Wan just can't catch her, and she's just causing all this problems and all this stuff going on. It's like, Obi-Wan, grab her ass real quick and bring her to you and explain it to you, to her what's going on, and just cut all this short. But of course, then it would have made, you couldn't have all the drama that happened, so they had to have her do something stupid and then Obi-Wan not be able to catch her to have all this stuff happen. And I usually don't like stuff like that. I want more cohesive storytelling, and that to me, that was the one part of the show I didn't like. And then again, she was annoying as shit, asking like, you literally been kidnapped, you should be traumatized right now, but yet Obi-Wan's asking, not Obi-Wan, Princess Leia's asking Obi-Wan all these questions, and she's acting like nothing ever happened, and it's like, but again, so the Princess Leia so far hasn't worked for me, but as an actress, as a young performer, she's a good actress. She's a good young actress, so maybe they can get it together. This is only episode 2. I'm not ready to count her out, but I don't really like the idea of her being in this show that much either, because it's like, well, if the little black inquisitor, was able to find out that she had a link to Princess Leia, then how did she not find out everything else? Like the link to Princess Leia, to me, should link you to Luke, should link you to where Luke is at, should link you to the fact that Anakin and Luke, like everything. And again, this is only episode 2, so maybe it does. Maybe, we find out that she found out everything. I don't know. But to me, I don't see how you could just kind of find out something about Princess Leia without finding out literally everything. That they're Jedi, that they're sons of Anakin, that you got Luke on Tatooine with Uncle Owen. You got, like, how do you not find out everything if you just find out Princess Leia and Obi-Wan had a connection? So again, it felt a little lazy, but with television shows, you kind of got to wait it out because it could reveal itself. But as of right now, to me, I'm kind of like, oh nah, I don't know about that. So we just gotta wait and see. But I gotta say, for the most part, mainly episode 1, with that opening scene, especially with they summed up the prequel trilogy and Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship and how he went to the dark side. And it really worked. And I was like, oh man, they made the prequels look good. Like, if I never watched none of the prequels ever, and then I seen, the way they summed it up right there, I was like, oh shit, that would have made me want to go back and watch the prequels. Like, this shit looks good, man. So yeah, they really did that well in that opening scene with the Inquisitors coming off the ship. I mean, it's still the best scene out of both episodes. It was great. And yeah, man, I for the most part, I don't hate this. I don't hate this show. This is not Boba Fett. Do I feel like it lived up to the hype this show had? No, it doesn't, because I felt like this show was almost movie level quality in terms of hype. You know, like people, you know, people really was excited for this, and I really, you know, wanted them to deliver on a much higher level. But I don't feel like this is not Boba Fett. You know, Boba Fett from the jump, I was like, oh, this is garbage. You know, Boba Fett, I was very disappointed in from the jump. But the first episode to me was really great. The second episode is to me when I start having the problems. But even the second episode wasn't awful. You know, it wasn't terrible. But yeah, I'm waiting on episode 3. That's all I could really say about this one. I'm still on board with this show, and I really do like the show. Mainly because McGregor as Obi-Wan, he's just so good in that role. You know, even if this show sucked, I'd at least want to see him. I mean, like old dude that played Boba Fett, he was garbage in the role. So I was like, damn, I don't even want to see it for Boba Fett. Well, at least if this show is bad, I want to see it for McGregor. I mean, he's so good in the role. But yeah, so far so good. I'm not gonna cover the show each episode to episode. It's only 6 episodes, I think, so I'm gonna just wait till the end and then review the whole thing. But I just wanted to give my opening thoughts on these first 2 episodes. But yeah, so that was just, you know, my thoughts on it. I'm not gonna give a grade because I'm not gonna grade only 2 episodes, because every problem I have with this show could be, you know, fixed in the next episode for all I know. So yeah, that was my thoughts on that. Thanks for listening. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe if you liked the video. Thank you. Bye-bye.